In this video, we will install VirtualBox for Windows 10 and test that it's working. Hi guys, welcome to my Learn channel. My name is Joe and today we're going to install VirtualBox for Windows 10. So the first thing we need to do is go to a web browser and go to their website, which is virtualbox.org. When VirtualBox has loaded, you'll see a great big 5.2 VirtualBox download button. Click straight onto that. Now, depending on your setup, you may have a Windows machine or Apple Mac or even Linux. So select the one that suits you most. I'm going to be using the Windows host, and when you click onto it, it will download just down here. As it downloads, click onto the installer so it will open, and you'll get this box here. Click onto next, and then you can leave all these settings as default. Click onto next, and again leave these as default. You can change them if you know what they're doing, and then start the installation and install. Okay, when that has downloaded, you'll get a security prompt. Click yes, and then it will ask you to install some devices. Again, you need to click install, and then we're going to automatically start Oracle just to check that it's working. And this is the Oracle VirtualBox Manager, which means the actual VirtualBox has installed. Now, to test that it's properly working, there are some settings that some people may need to enable in the BIOS, but we'll get into that in a little bit. The first thing we'll try is clicking onto New, and then naming your VirtualBox. So for this example, we'll call it Windows, and we'll install Windows 7 64-bit. The default and recommended size of RAM that you allocate to your system will depend on how much RAM your system actually has in total. I've got quite a big machine, and 2 GB is not going to be a problem at all. If you've only got 2 to 4 GB, then consider lowering this, because you don't want all of your RAM to be taken up by the VirtualBox. This option here relates to the hard disk, and the virtual hard disk that's selected in the middle, if we use that one, it means that the drive can increase if it's needed, but it will automatically take up 25 gig of your space. If you need to use a different option, then go ahead, but if you've got 25 gig of space, we'll click create, and VDI, and dynamic, and then here we go. Here's where you would put the size difference if you wanted to change that. Windows takes up a fair chunk of the 25 gig, so I'm gonna just leave it like that, give us a little bit of extra space afterwards to play around with files and things on the virtual server. And there we are, that is set up. It's not started yet, so to actually install Windows onto the virtual machine, I believe Windows offer a free evaluation copy for virtual servers, which you can go to their website and download. I'll put a link in the description below, so if you need to check that out, you can. Otherwise, if you've got a copy of your ISO'd image, then we can go ahead and just use that. So the first thing we need to do is right click onto your VirtualBox and go into the settings. Go down to the storage section, and where the CD drive is, click onto that and go to choose virtual optical disk file, and then locate to your virtual disk, which is your ISO. Click OK, and now when you start, it will run as though the Windows installer CD is in the drive. Then you can detach the CD drive because you will not need it to boot into this installation anymore. So we'll go ahead and just install Windows. If you need help on installing Windows, then you can try and copy myself here. I just realized that I was capturing the wrong screen. You didn't see the first installation part of that, but it just looks like the starting part of Windows. I will be making a separate guide. I'll try and post that up there for you when I make it, so you can follow the guide if you need help in installing Windows, and that will start the installation process. I'm just going to close down the Oracle website because we don't need that anymore, just to save any confusion that you may have. As the installation finishes, it will automatically restart and the VM will close down and then reopen. After it's finished its setup, we need to do a few little user inputs. So the first one is a username. I will just put my name, and then the computer name. It doesn't really matter to me, so I will leave that the same. If you want to change it, then obviously feel free. I'm not going to have a password, and I'm going to skip this for now because I don't actually have the Windows 7 license key on me, and I don't want to have to go and find it. And then set the time if it's incorrect. And depending on where you are, you may want to select this. I'm just going to select public network because it then doesn't put any restrictions on the network thing. But most people will, you probably want to have it on set as home if you're in a home environment. And there is our working version of Windows. Now, as you make the window bigger, you see it stays the same size. That's not really what most people would want. So we need to go into devices up the top here and go to insert guest editions CD image. And if it doesn't autoplay like I thought it was going to, then go to the file explorer here, click onto computer here, and then double click onto the CD drive here, and then VirtualBox Windows Editions. You're going to click yes, and then next, and then you can leave that in the default location. This location here is inside the VirtualBox, so you're not going to see it on your computer if the VirtualBox is closed down. So this is kind of just within that 25 gigabytes that we allocated at the start of the video. As you see now, you've only got 15 gigabyte free, so Windows takes up about 10 gig. We'll click next, and then I don't need 3D support, but if you do, then you can obviously tick that box as well. Again, we'll click install and install again, and you may have a different amount of these pop-ups. Depends on your hardware configuration, so you may have 3 or 4, you may have none. Just click on install when they pop up, otherwise VirtualBox is not going to have the correct drivers to run what it needs to run. When it's finished, we'll click reboot. We're going to close down and then open back up. Okay, and not really much of a visible difference, but if we enlarge it, it will also enlarge to the full size of the screen. So now you've got a fully working version of Windows that scales to the size of your screen, and it is within a box still. You can't do much about that. But you've got the options to make it larger or smaller if you need to, and you can make it full screen now, as before you wouldn't have been able to do that. Now, just before we finish off, if you close down the Windows, close it off as if you were using your real PC, so start and shut down. This will close down. It will take a few seconds, and then if you just click on start up here just to test it once more. Windows starts up. It's pretty quick now, and you get these options at the top here. Take note of them. They pop up every time you restart the VirtualBox, but if you have a look at them, they're actually quite helpful, so they are worth reading at least once before you close them down. And there it is again, so it's all working fine. Remember that even though this is a VirtualBox, I've used a normal Windows 7 ISO. Now that means that if I go into the properties on my computer, it says that Windows isn't activated. You will need to activate if you want to use Windows regularly on this. I'm just doing it for a test, and I have another version of VirtualBox with an activated version of Windows, which I'll be using from now on. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and also thumbs up if you like the video. If you would like more information on any of the products mentioned in this video, then check out in the description below. Whilst you're there, leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. My name is Joe, and I've been helping you to improve your knowledge and understanding in technology, software and hardware. Until next time, goodbye.